good morning, and welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie authors on their journey toward publication. My name is Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
My name is Christina Catane, and I write Christian dystopian fiction.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write fiction and nonfiction.
And we are already having tech issues this morning. Crazy. I'm over here trying to smile, and I'm clicking the opening thing, and it just isn't doing anything. And I'm like, I really had to think to myself, am I doing something wrong? I should just have to click it, right? So,
well, don't worry, Jennifer. Once you have a few episodes under your belt, I'm sure you won't have any more tech issues.
I'm sure, but we'll get to that, tech issues and things from early on. But this is our 100th episode. Yay!
100 episodes.
Right? We already have lots of chat going on. Robin says, happy podiversary. Thank you very much. Gigi says, congratulations on your 100th episode. Shell says, happy 100. Sage says, congratulations. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate that. Who would have thought that we would make it this far? There was a time I wasn't sure we were going to make it to 2. We'll talk about that later, too. But before we move on, this is our time of our episode where we like to share with each other what's going on in our lives, both professional and personal. We call it our What's Up. So we're going to start with Tina today. Tina, what is up with you?
Well, I am working on the yellow edits of the last chapter that I have to do before I'm done editing, edits that the editor sent me.
That's incredibly awesome. That's so awesome. I can't wait for people to get their hands on this book.
So I still have to go through it one more time, probably have it read out loud to me by word and put it through Pro Writing Aid and then send it to the proofreader.
Are you going to celebrate with a trip to Alaska?
Yes.
I don't know, because I don't have any family up there anymore, so I'm not really sure who I would go visit. If there's anyone listening from Alaska that wants to put me up, let me know.
Oh, that's great.
I bring my granddaughter, my husband, my kids. There'll be 10 of us.
It's very, very exciting, Tina. We are so happy. We've been on this journey with you, and we are also very excited for you.
Thanks.
All right, Rhonda, how about you? What's up?
Well, I wasn't really sure what I was going to say today. Something like this weekend I'm going to Indiana as soon as I'm off the podcast today and that. But I just got a Facebook message moments ago saying that my best friend, who is a missionary in Kenya, is going to be home for 5 weeks. And she'll be home on Monday. So I am so excited. Yep.
Oh, that's so great. You're going to be so inspired by all the stories she has to share, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How good to be able to connect with a friend, too. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Piper says she is shoulders deep in the kitchen renovation. Piper, we need to message each other. I need someone to commiserate with, I'm telling you. It's taking over her life. Very little writing.
Yeah, that's stressful for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. All right, Jamie, how about you? What's up with you?
Well, I do have some great professional news, but, I'm not really ready to announce much of that yet. But I'm just going to say it's been an excellent week for me career-wise. I mean, a real breakthrough as far as belief of what's possible, exciting things happening. So I'm really, really jazzed to have some big things to announce career-wise. It feels like I'm about ready to really launch a writing career because it feels like a whole lot of just being stalled and treading water, not sure what I'm doing. And now I feel like I have a direction, but I'm not really ready to talk too much about it yet. But thanks for asking. What's up with you, Jen?
I first want to comment on that. That's very exciting because for those who are just tuning in, Jamie has books published, right? So, but there's stages, right? And just because you publish a book doesn't mean you're finished with your journey, right? So Jamie is constantly moving and improving. And so those out there that are kind of at the beginning stages, we're all on this journey together. Would you agree with that, Jamie?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Sage says, she said that she's busy negotiating what basically amounts to a permanent contract position with one of her clients. I'll take a last stress off of her if she can reach an agreement. Also made 200 subs on YouTube this past Sunday.
Wow, good for you.
Good for you. That is awesome. All right. Robin says her What's Up pen name was accepted into a charity anthology with the note, expertly written.
Wonderful.
Congratulations. She's proofed 30 plus cat stories for the anthology. So my what's up, the ladies know a little bit more about this, but if you are a longtime listener, you may know that I struggle with headaches, or you may not, because I don't really talk about it probably as much as I should. There have been episodes I've had to miss because of the debilitating headaches that I have. And this morning, Jamie messaged our group. First of all, if you don't follow us on Instagram, go to Instagram and see the post we did yesterday. But anyways, this is before, and then she saw that. So this morning early, she messaged us and she reached out to me and said, "How is your head?" And I know it was a God thing because I had a miserable night last night. And if this wasn't our 100th episode, I probably would have messaged them and said I can't do it. But this was important. This is our 100th episode. So after her message, I opened up my phone and I had an email to my Jen at jennifercarltong.com. Now, I don't give that email address out to people. Like that is, I use that only for fans, like for fans to contact me, and only for very, very important writer, like my career writer things.
And anybody listening to this episode.
Yeah. Because I want it to be very specific.
I get it, yeah. Yeah, you don't put it on like mailing lists. Like you're not signing up for, yeah.
No, because I want to, if someone to me, I don't want to miss a fan's family. And they do. I had one email this morning that I need to respond to. I had one email yesterday. Anyway, in that email, there was a devotion sent to me. I don't remember ever signing up for this devotion. And I went through and I can't find any more emails from this devotion company or website, whatever. And the devotion this morning was "Pain is a microphone." It's very lengthy, but I read the whole thing and it was an absolute God thing. And Jamie asked me earlier, what was the takeaway? There's a couple of takeaways that I got from it. First of all, that when you are suffering, whether it's physical pain like I am, or if it's emotional pain, you lose someone, when that happens, people around you get quiet and they lean in. And what the writer of this devotion pointed out is that you can say all you want that Jesus is my light, Jesus is my light. But then when your light is doused, they lean in to see if the light is still there. And God will use you as a microphone in the midst of your pain. And I've always said in my life, that God does not waste anything. He is the great economizer, right? The great economist. And if I believe that, I have to believe that he's also going to use my pain as well. So that when people lean in, believers and non-believers, because I know that we have both in our followers on this show, that if I can't still show up, if I still can't show up and be professing that Jesus is still my light, even when it's tough, then I'm missing out on that microphone moment. And God has given me this microphone of this podcast, of my books, of the people that are in my life that love me. And I want to make sure that everyone knows. So like by not telling people that I experience this pain, by not telling people that I struggle with these headaches, I think I'm missing out on a microphone moment. And I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that I am not here out of my own strength or my own talents or anything that I have done. The only way that I have any books published, the only way that I get up every day and write books, the only way that I am on this podcast is because Jesus Christ is my light and he is there when I cannot be.
Ditto.
Amen.
So, all right. So
now that we've had church.
Amen, sister. This is the Christian Indie Writers Podcast.
This is church where two or more are gathered.
Amen.
Yeah.
So we have some more what's ups. I do want to. All right. So Shell says that her what's up pretty emotional since her boss/mom is retiring and helping her liquidate the business. Today we are cutting up tables.
Cutting up tables? That sounds kind of fun, actually. Like with chainsaws? What in the world? Wow, that sounds like a stress reliever. I'll show you, client that irritated me with the chainsaw.
You could like post their pictures on the table and then cut it.
Anyone else has this image of Jamie with a chainsaw? Now I can't get it out of my head. Like I want a picture of Jamie with a chainsaw now because.
Oh, you remember in Mr. Mom when that guy came out with the chainsaw? And
oh,
he had like that.
We need to find that. And just put your face on it.
I think Jen has homework now.
Yeah.
She's been shenanigizing.
Or Rhonda. All right. Sage says, yes, let the cutting of the tables be cathartic.
Let the cutting of the tables commence.
Yes.
You have to make a big announcement, too, and then everybody fires it. Anyway.
All right, so that's our what's up. And again, we're just going to bring it up. This week's topic is our 100th episode.
Wow,
I cannot believe that.
100 times getting together.
It's so surreal.
It really is. Like, does it seem like it's been that long? Like, I don't feel like it's been. And we've been doing this for more than 2 years because there have been some weeks we've taken off. Like Jamie has said recently, and I love the term, we're homemade. Like, we are not a professional podcast. We are not part of like these other podcast companies that put out a bunch of famous people. We just do this on our own. And so there are weeks that we just cannot do it. We take off Christmas. We take off certain holidays. Sometimes just two of us show up for holidays and shenanigans in there, but we are definitely homemade. So, we've been doing it for more than 2 years. And to me, it just seems like yesterday that we started this. It's just crazy.
I know it seems like just yesterday, but then it seems like forever. Like I've always been doing it, mostly because I've lived in 4 houses over the course of the podcast.
Yeah, you have.
It's really kind of strange, right, to think about. And if you guys think about the changes in your lives, I don't want to bring them up because some of it's pretty weepy, but we've been through a lot on this podcast journey. I mean, some of the reasons that we couldn't meet were because of tragedy, and sometimes it was because there was a blessing happening, weddings or whatever. And so it does feel like a long time, but just like the passage of time, always, when something is the same, it kind of forms one big river, doesn't it, in your memory?
Yeah. That's like yesterday. I saw Tina's son for the first time in person for the first time in a long, like probably 2 years. And the first time I saw him, he was like a 13-year-old with a full beard. And now he's a 17-year-old driving with a full beard. And it's just amazing how these kids are growing up. It's just the passage of time is amazing.
Yeah,
just so everyone knows, he was pretty much born with a full beard. It just got darker when he hit puberty.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, the kids growing, that'll show you how old you are. That's for sure. My kids will come wandering in here, and Jen's daughters will be sprawled out on a chair in the background. There will be like, "Holy cow, is that your kid?" Because we meet every day almost. But we don't always see those munchkins, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember when he was just a little guy learning to swim, and now he's like talking about what he's going to do when he turns 18. And
wow,
so crazy.
Leave his mama.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we have, because it's our 100th episode, we are celebrating with some Drabbles. If you don't know what a Drabble is, it is a piece of writing that is exactly 100 words. No more, no less. And we ran a contest. As well as we had some people, we asked them to submit some Drabbles. So we have some awesome ones written by you, our listeners, to share with you today at the end of the show, and also our own Drabbles that we're going to be sharing. So stick around to find out who is going to win our contest with our, as Jamie put it, our swag pack. But before we read the Drabbles, we want to go around and name 3 things about our first 100 episodes. So, I think first, let's talk about, we're going to go around the table and let's talk about something that you learned writing related because of this podcast. This is for us, but also in our chat, if there's something you've learned that you remember learning because of this podcast, we'd love you to share that in the chat too, so we can share that. So Rhonda, I'm going to go with you first. Writing related, what is one thing that you learned since we started doing this podcast?
That it's a much longer process than it looks like. When you are seeing an image of a writer, say like Ernest Hemingway, and he's hunched over his typewriter and he's just writing away and throwing balls of paper out and finished pages, and it just looks like, wow, that's how you write a story. You sit down and you start typing on page 1 and you go all the way to the end and you don't stop till you're finished. Well, that's not really how it is. Right. And that was a big eye opener for me.
I mean, minimally, you need to get up for a sandwich and to powder your nose. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not if you're Ernest Hemingway or one of those.
I'm pretty sure he also drank a lot too, so that's not me either.
I remember some really famous authors saying that he was happy if he got out 500 quality words a day.
Mm.
So that puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
Right. All right, Tina, what about you? What is your one writing related?
Well, I want to talk about the brain glowy thing. And I think that I read that article before we started the podcast. But it wasn't until we were going to talk about it on the podcast that I went back and really found the actual original study and read all the details and got really excited about it once I started doing that, about how the frontal cortex shows up in novice writers, and then the Claudius nucleus shows up in veteran writers. And that's the Claudius nucleus is the part of the brain that helps you remember how to ride a bike, play your violin, do a jump shot, whatever. And so this idea that the more I write, even if I'm just writing something I'm going to throw away afterwards, it's all goes toward moving my career forward. Because the more I do it, the more my brain is going to glow, so to speak. So that's probably the one thing that I was most excited about.
Well, I would say Claudius Nucleus sounds like someone who tried to take over Rome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he did.
I'll agree with Tina, though. I learned a lot from that, the brain glowing thing. It's very encouraging to know that if I just would practice my writing, that I'll get better as well. Gigi says everything. I think that means that, what does she learn? She's learned everything from us. Well, we appreciate that, Gigi. You're one of our super fans.
Gigi just crossed the finish line with her work in progress. And we are really happy that we were able to encourage and support her along her journey. She reached out to let us know. And I think that that's so special and amazing. I don't think we really realized that's what we were setting out to do.
We said it from the beginning, right? When we first started this podcast, it was just an idea that one of us had and had to convince the other three. But we just kind of didn't know what was going to be fun, right? And it was going to be a way to keep in touch with Jamie when she moved. And we had all kinds of great ideas, but we had to come up with our tagline at the beginning and what was our purpose, kind of a thing. And we came up with that, what we say every beginning of every episode, that we encourage, inform, and support. So we talked about those things at the beginning, but I don't think we really knew the full way that God was going to use that, right? And I think that it has been a humbling experience for me to see that we have been able to help anyone else when we are such a mess ourselves. No, but I always get serious and then I have to throw a joke in, but I seriously do mean that. It is a humbling blessing to us that we are able to help anybody. So we just appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
well, I think it helps because when you see somebody else struggling with the same thing you're struggling with, and then you see them work through it, or you hear them talking about how they're going to work through it, it really helps you process that yourself, and it's like you're not alone anymore.
Right. That's good, because Sage just said too, writing is a solitary activity, but crafting a good story is a collaborative effort. Yes, agreed. Yep. What were you going to say, Jamie?
Tina's thing was better.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna say that whenever I'm writing. We need to get a little sign and put up there. Okay, Jamie, what about you? What is the one thing you learned about that writing related from this podcast?
I don't hate social media. I just didn't understand it. And I also, I guess non-writing related. So I guess hand in hand with that is that you can do stuff your own way. And it's ironic that you can have a life philosophy and ignore it, because my life philosophy, one of them, I have a bunch, comparison is the thief of joy. Mm-hmm. And what do? I compare my writing journey to everybody else's. And I think, well, I don't do it that way, so I must not going to be successful, because everybody tells you be yourself, not like that. No. To be successful, you must Stephen Covey your way to the top or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't work for me. So it can be really discouraging until you realize something like Twitter can be fun, because it doesn't have to be post an ad about your book every 5 minutes. It can be get on there and engage with people and have a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be the way that the world says. Now, if you want to measure my success by copies of books sold, maybe we could have another discussion. But if you want to measure my success by how much I'm enjoying my career, it's so much better to do social media with the right attitude, and it's serving me. I am not going to become a slave to the social media. And that means maybe I will miss a fan's reach out. Maybe a fan will have to wait a few days to get a message back from me. But that's just the way it is, because I'm a real person, not a robot.
Amen. And I'm loving your new social media fervor. So much fun.
I'm having a lot of fun.
And it's a lot of fun to follow along. So if anyone listening is not following us on Twitter, you need to be over there on Twitter. Okay, so for me, my writing related thing that I learned the most, I think, from this experience is kind of similar to Tina's and about the brain glowing, but is office hours. The fact that I knew I needed to write every day, and I knew that what I should be doing every week, how many words I should be coming up with. But what has really changed things for me and for my career is to have an accountability group that I show up to every single day, that if I don't show up, there's a message coming. Where are you? Is everything okay? That I have to let them know, okay, I won't be in office hours tomorrow. Like it's my job. Office hours has made me really treat my career as my job. And that has made a world of difference.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that.
Agree. I think the accountability, because I mean, it's just somebody else, like my daughter, who's candor. She's so we'll just tell it like it is. Mom, no one cares if you write your book, but you. No, Riley.
Yeah, Riley.
And it's like you feel that way, but if you know there's 3 other people who expect you to keep your commitment to yourself, they may not care about your book getting written, but they care about you, and they care about what you told them you wanted to achieve in your life. And that's what the accountability is all about. It's because supporting you ladies actually helps me to be accountable to myself, but it's helping you guys achieve something you told me you wanted. You told me you wanted to write a book. So
right. And not only that, we all know that there are times in our career where we feel like this book is crap. Nobody's going to ever want to read this. All these things that Satan will try to tell you.
Yeah.
But then there's 3 other voices there that are like, that is not truth. This is truth. The truth is God gave you this story. The truth is you have to show up and do the work. The truth is you can do this. They have 3 other voices competing with that negative voice in your head. They have the 3 other positive voices saying you can do this. World of difference.
And I just want to say personally, thank you to all 3 of you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Rhonda, because most people aren't willing to stick with it and tell people that. Most people, they hear the complaining and they go away, or they see someone struggling and they're like, oh, maybe that's contagious. And they're not thinking about supporting the other person. But you guys have always been a support for me, and I really need it. And I appreciate all of you.
Yeah, and my book would still only be being written during NaNoWriMo, and it wouldn't be what it is today if it weren't for you 3 ladies. Aww. And as well as the other ladies in our writing group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I hope that there are people that are in our chat right now too that feel that way, that maybe they would have been only November writers, but because they have this community that they can show up to, that they are encouraged to write more often. So I'm hoping for that.
I hope so too.
Okay, so Rhonda, I'm going to throw it to you for what about a non-writing related thing that you have learned from this podcast?
Oh, a non-writing one? Well, I am going to have to go with the whole office hours habit thing. Habits are so important. Good habits are so important. And I don't know, I guess it's writing a book is intentional, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And creating good habits every day by coming to office hours, like what you just said. I've learned that I need to have that sort of structure in my life to do that. And not only that, but it makes it real to me, but it makes it real to the people in my life too. My family members, the ones that need to let me write, who need to let me have that time during the day. I'm making a priority myself, and they see that, and they allow me to have that time.
That's right. If you don't believe in your right to protect that time, why should they? If you don't protect it as viciously as a bulldog, they're going to think you don't really mean it.
Right.
I absolutely agree with that.
And I mean about it now too.
What about you, Jamie? What would be one non-writing related thing?
That I had room in my grinchy little heart for a few more friends. I didn't want to be roped into giving a crap about all you chatters over here. I'm rolling my mouse over you guys. Yes, that's right. Over here to the right. all you little chatters in this box. For some reason, I care a lot about you, even though I didn't want to. It's terrible. But anyway, I do have, my heart is obviously got enough pieces to go around. So now I love all of you guys too. And the last thing I thought I needed was a bunch more people to care about. But I guess I did need some more.
Something that everyone needs to know about Jamie is that when Jamie is friends with someone, she loves very deeply and very large, so that she sometimes has to protect how much, like, letting people into her life, because it becomes consuming to her, because she is such a loving person that she gives so much of herself. And that I think that having chatters was a little scary for her, like, and she wanted to try to put up a wall and be like, okay, they're chatters, but they're part of our life. And Jamie does love you guys. Like, it is something that, like, we talk in office hours, like, you're friends to us. And so we just appreciate all of you. So I had to say that about you.
Very much, very much.
Yeah.
I'll go next. My non-writing thing, this is silly, but ring lights are awesome. Like, I thought that's what we were talking about, was like that kind of stuff. But like,
for real though,
because like, you can do your makeup or if you care about that kind of thing. I like makeup. I think it's fun. You can like have your hair done, which don't even talk about hair today. Tina and I don't want to talk about hair today. But like, then you go to get on camera and you look like, like, I can't even think, Ethel Merman. Like, you just like, because of the lighting in your room. And so then all of a sudden I get a ring light and I'm like, oh, I have like facial features. I'm like, I'm not in the dark. And
I would show you. Yeah, sorry. I would show you mine, but it's all broken up, because in case people don't know, I'll show you anyway. Hold on. I'll stand up. I'm going to do my camera dark. Jen, you keep talking. I'll grab mine.
So like, there are things like that I end up using for when I do my Facebook Lives as an author. I use them for, sometimes I even use it for my stories on Instagram. I like to like actually have natural light for that, but we can't always have natural light when we're doing this, because everywhere that I have a window in this house, like, there's a window behind it too. So then you'd have like backlight and stuff. So lighting is important. That is something that I learned,
Jennifer,
that I didn't know. Yes.
Yeah. As a bonus, why don't you, I'm going to put this down so I'm not distracting. Why don't you tell everybody where is good light, in case they're ever invited on a podcast? How do they want to light themselves? Tell everybody just quick tips.
The best way is natural light, but you can't have a window behind you too. So in my house, I have windows on either side, everywhere, just about everywhere in this house. The office that we're building downstairs for me has a window, and I won't have any window behind me. So it's very exciting for me.
So you don't want the window behind you?
No, that would be terrible to do that.
Okay.
But also be prepared to have some sort of like sheer or something that will filter the light a little bit, because if I had my ring light really close or I had it like turned up, you'd be like very harsh. But
yes. So like, see here's my ring light. See how it's broken, this piece. This is what Jennifer's talking about.
Mine's broken.
This is like a softy, lighty, like it's not so garish on your face. And then here, this is all little LED. So when you turn this on, this whole circle is lit. Wah! And then it makes a beautiful light. So it's not like a spotlight pinning right at your face. It just gives you a nice ambient circle. That's what Jennifer says. Ring lights are awesome.
Yeah. And get one. They're like $20-$30. And we've talked before about social media, and we're encouraging everybody to go live on their Facebook pages and on Instagram. And trust me, you'll like it. It's a small investment, and it might be silly, but I like it. So ring lights are awesome. That's mine. Tina, I think you're left. I haven't asked you yet. What is one non-writing thing that you've learned?
Well, this goes back to what you were saying earlier about God being the great economizer. And I found this all along my journey with serving the Lord and being in ministry. One time I had said, I'll never speak in front of people. Like, somebody wanted me to be a co-coordinator of the MOPS group when my son was little. And I was like, okay, I'll be the co-coordinator as long as I don't have to talk in front of people. And then 2 weeks after I started, the coordinator quit. And I became the coordinator, and I had to get up and talk in front of people. Little did I know that my husband was going to come home several years later and tell me he wanted to quit being a supervisor in the automotive industry and become a pastor. And I became a pastor's wife and a Bible study teacher, and I had to talk in front of people. So again, God brought this podcast into our life, and I had to learn how to do all this podcasty stuff and learn how to use StreamYard and all that stuff. And then God said, we want you to start an online church. And guess what tools I needed to
All
do
these
live
podcasts.
streaming of a church service, the Bible study that I teach, all that, building a website for the church, all of that stuff that I had to do for the church, I learned how to do first because we did a podcast.
That's
awesome.
goosebumpy.
So he really is the great economizer, and he really does. He never calls the equipped. He always equips the called.
Well, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how he's equipped me in my life.
Because when I look at the four of us, there was really only one of us that was like, yeah, let's do this on camera. When we first said doing a podcast, they all were thinking like, just like one you could listen to, which we do that this gets made into an audio. But there was one of us that was like, no, we need to do video.
No,
Jennifer. Video is what everyone's watching. We got to be on YouTube.
Romantic.
I used to be that person that would run when the cameras came out.
All three of you were like,
family get-togethers. Somebody brings out a camera, like suddenly I have to use the bathroom for an hour. Like, But I think I did not want my picture taken.
I think it has helped all of us just to be able to accept the beauty that God has given us and just be comfortable with being on camera. And I think that has been a huge thing that all four of us, you can tease me as much as you want, but I've learned it as well, that all four of us have learned. So
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Hey, I want to know, does anybody mind if I make a Instagram post out of Sage's comment? Writing is a solitary activity, but crafting a good story is a collaborative effort.
I think it's a great idea. As long as Sage is cool with it, I'm cool with it. Hey, she put it out there on our YouTube channel.
Public.
So it's public.
Yeah, but you gotta quote her with her. It's a great name she has. The hyphen there, Gordon Davis. What a great, is that like her given name? Does anyone know, or did she make that up for writing? Because it's a great writer's name, I think.
People that hyphenate their names are awesome. All right, moving on.
My name hyphenated would not be good.
Why? What would it be?
My maiden name is Plunkett. I think Christina Catane is ready-made for Hollywood. Like, it could just go up in lights by itself. They would give me the part based on my name alone because it looks so good.
So
never mind, I can't act.
All right. For a fear this episode going too long, which I can already tell you probably is going to, we still have to cover one more thing before we can get to our Drabbles. And that one thing is, what is your favorite moment of shenanigans on the podcast since this podcast has started? For those of you that, Sage says it's her real name. For those of you who are just tuning in, maybe just finding us, shenanigans is our favorite thing. We like to do fun things. We generally fall into shenanigans. Don't try to. It just kind of happens. Sometimes we orchestrate them, like some of our posts in social media this week.
Sometimes Red and I get bored.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes it's just when we're bored and we find things to laugh at. So is there anyone who wants to go first for their shenanigans, or should I call on someone?
I'll go first because mine isn't really super funny, but we did shenanigans together, Jen and I, a couple of times. We kind of went rogue. So like on Thanksgiving, my husband was still on the road. Her husband was somewhere working. So we're like, we're going to do a Thanksgiving episode, just us. And we were a couple of turkeys for sure. And then also we did an episode where we taught everybody how to do a website because the other two were traveling, and we were just very tee-hee about it, as if we were like doing something mom would get us in trouble for. It was like ridiculous, but we had a really good time doing it. It was a very pajama party atmosphere those two times, and I really loved how it came out because of that.
Yeah, I love those ones too. Okay, so now we're getting some chat. People want to talk about the shenanigans. William J says, I love the one time when you talked about guinea pig blind dates. I think it was bunny blind dates, but yes.
Yeah, we were going to get Charlie a girlfriend. Yeah.
We told Tina she can't talk about that today. No, just kidding. We did say there were some shenanigans that we may want to censor out for today's episode.
I still have screenshots of like when she's talking and I'm like, do you guys remember that? That was a great one. That was a lot of fun. Piper says, I love all you guys so much and feel like you are my tribe. Oh, I schedule my work so that I have Fridays available to listen, participate live.
Oh, we love you.
Again, Piper, I love you too.
Yes, and she's got, go ahead. She's got some social media work, and I noticed her social media ramping up.
Gigi says the genre episode with the opening that never ended.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
That doesn't sound like us.
Oh, totally 100% sounds like us.
It absolutely does.
Okay. I will do my next is my favorite one of my favorite shenanigans, and I think it was Tina's least favorite shenanigan. But if you go back last November, the Friday after Thanksgiving, which officially begins the Christmas season, and if you follow us at all, you'll know that I love Christmas more than anyone else on this podcast, probably the only one. And so, but I held back. I did not talk about Christmas. I did not do anything Christmassy, even though I was already decorating my house, until after Thanksgiving was done. But that Friday after Thanksgiving was fair game. And I came decked out.
Is this the tree with 6 bulbs on it?
Yeah.
So that was the year before. One year, because we used to pre-record. When we pre-recorded, I had a tree behind me, and it looked like it was all decorated, but I'd only decorated like this much because you could only see that much behind me. And Rhonda started giving me a hard time about how much I decorated. I showed how much I'd actually decorated. No, last year when I wore the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer sweater. Do you remember it now? And I had Christmas music playing, and so that's probably my favorite. When I don't tell them that I'm about to do live on a podcast, and I just do it. So
yeah, because Jennifer does shenanigans sneakily. She's usually the one saying, "You guys are so immature," and then randomly she comes up with like the funniest stuff ever. It's awesome. We love it.
I can't figure out why you think that was my least favorite.
Oh, go back and watch it. You should see your reaction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What number is that?
I don't know. It's November, the end of November of last year, 2019. So before Robin's saying something in chat, but I'm going to go to Rhonda first so Rhonda can share her favorite before I put Robin's up there.
Okay. My favorite was the one time that Jennifer told us she wasn't going to be in the podcast for whatever lame excuse she had. And it was the first time that she was going to be missing. And we were like, we cannot have a podcast without Jennifer. So I took it upon myself to take care of that. And I printed out Jennifer's head, put it on a stick, and she became my partner. And
you don't have it?
I had it with me right now.
Oh, that's what Robin says. Robin says the only one I remember is when someone printed off someone else's face head on a stick.
Yeah. That was definitely my favorite.
Not only did you have it on a stick, you spoke for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance. I mean, it all does seem really dumb to do now that people are really paying attention to us. But before, we really had no audience. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like the 4 of us were the audience. So we were totally just trying to entertain ourselves. We're very sorry if someone's like, podcast is for real with people. It's really funny now that I think about it. Like,
just imagine 10 years from now when someone goes back and watches that.
Like, I honestly have thought, like, should we go back and delete the first episodes? Like, the first, like, many, well, because they're bad.
I know.
Like, if you go watch them, this is how
they're good for a laugh.
We're like, my name is Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance. Rhonda, what do you write? Like, everything was scripted. It's so bad. Our tech is terrible. Our tech is terrible at the beginning.
Oh, it was cute.
Oh my God. Piper says, no, you cannot delete. Okay, so that means that you've gone back and seen them and enjoyed how bad it is. So Shell says, I think I listened to the audio of that one. LOL. I'll have to go listen to it. Yeah, oh yeah, you need the visual of that one. You not just listen to the audio of that episode.
When you saw that, like, did you see it live? Like, how did you discover that had happened? Do you remember? Were you watching it live, or did you catch it later?
Remember she started commenting?
Watching it live. I think. I'm pretty sure. Robin says I was there. Yeah, you know what? Robin was one of our first.
One of our first.
Yeah, earlier. Robin.
Yeah. Yay.
Thanks for sticking it out, Robin.
Yeah. When we were the worst, Robin held in with us.
Speaking of the worst, my favorite shenanigan was, I think this happened several times actually, but there's one definitely on that's recorded where I did not know we were live and I was the host. And I was like, are we live? And
Joe's like,
yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm the host.
So Jennifer had to count down 3, 2, 1, and then go to make sure that we have.
Right. Like we had also, everyone knew, and then Tina's like, are we live? Like,
and I totally forgot I was the host.
Is that when you started winking at us, Jennifer?
Oh yeah, I used to wink. And that's what
need a video montage of Jennifer winking.
Oh, I think all right. So if you go back to our 1 year anniversary, I did a video, and I think there's a bunch of me winking in that one too. So if you haven't seen the 1 year anniversary, which is episode 52 or 53, you go back and watch that. There's a montage. But oh my god,
yeah, it's Keystone Cops around here pre-podcast. I mean, we've gotten a lot better. We can kind of relax a little bit now, but Jennifer is forever hurting cats. It seems like.
Yeah. Jamie's kind of taken over the herding of cats a little bit.
Yeah,
too.
little. Got my whip out.
Oh my gosh. Anything else before we move on? Because that was so good. And we could sit here and talk forever, I'm sure. But anything else?
Nope.
All right.
Time to read some Drabbles?
Oh, one more thing
that
we talked about before we started, and no one has mentioned it. But Jamie and I really, really love, maybe Rhonda loves it too, but we really love that we forced Tina to write a book that she didn't have any input on.
Yeah, I believe I was gone. That we had a business meeting and I was on vacation.
Yeah,
and I came back and then found out I'd got voluntold to write a book that they planned everything.
Well, you were part of the plan. No, you weren't, were you?
No, I really wasn't.
We did the planning live on Facebook.
Anyway.
It was during Preptober 2 nanos ago, and it was during Facebook Lives, and then and then she had to write it for Nano.
and then listen to us tell her how we were disappointed with how she wrote it. What do you mean this and that happened? And Tina's like,
that's not what was supposed to happen. We like this character. You can't kill that character off. We're like, darn it.
Well, I've always been a rebel. I'm a rebel from way back. So,
and it was a roaring failure.
Hey, I might publish it someday under Christian Indie Writers Podcast.
Yeah, the book was a success. The experiment
because it turned out really good.
That's the experiment. Oh my gosh. Robin says, haha, love you guys. William J says, I really enjoyed listening to your podcast, and I'm really glad that I'm now able to see your live stream. Oh, thanks, William J. We're glad that you're here in the chat too. We really appreciate that. Okay. Oh, we could go on and on. So much fun, so many fun things. I've really enjoyed doing this, but
we want to announce our big winner, so we have to move on.
And we want to read our Drabbles too.
Yeah.
So we randomly chose a few of the 5 of the Drabbles that were shared in this process. Now, you did not have to write a Drabble to be entered into the contest, but we did want you to do that. So we are going to start off reading. Jamie, you want to read the first Drabble?
I just got to click over there. One moment.
And thank you everyone who participated. Thank you everyone who tweeted, and who just shared the Twitter love and everything out there. We just really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we want to help more people. And so the more people who know about us, the more people we can help. Jennifer, do you want me to say the name of the person who wrote it? Okay. So Drabble number 1 by Brian Carruthers. As she walked down the dirt road toward the tiny village, the fields she passed seemed to grow a little faster and the wildflowers a little brighter. She carried nothing but a large book and a simple pen. The old plow horse picked up his head and quickened his step. In the village, she listens to their stories and writes them in her book. When her book is filled up, she turns to her favorite story. As she reads it, the world renews itself like a giant page turning in the sky. She leaves to fill her book again.
Wow. Really good.
We're giving positive, encouraging feedback because it's a challenge to complete a story in 100 words.
Okay, my favorite sentence of the entire day is the world renews itself like a giant page turning in the sky. I love that.
That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful imagery.
Very well crafted. Love it.
Awesome. Who gets to go next, Jen? I know I'm not reading all of these.
I think it's me.
It is you.
I am reading one by Miss Shelves. I built the scarecrow myself.
What?
Let me flip it over.
What? Can I change my favorite shenanigan?
Okay, I'm muting.
I've been looking at shelves for a while. I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, you had to say my shelf, and you just said shell. Myself. Anyway, go ahead.
I built the scarecrow myself. Wood, hay, stubble. The crow's caws mock me day after day. They pecked my corn. They popped my cherry tomatoes. They pooped on my porch. But I and my knight in ripped jeans and tattered plaid would defeat them. Arms outstretched, my sentinel stood all night, guarding the strawberries and squash. At dawn, I hurried to gather the day's goodies. Mouth-watering, I flung open the door. What carnage! An arm here, a leg there. Nested in his head, that black feathered crook, cawing a laugh. Turns out scarecrows don't scare crows much at all.
Very good.
Very
I
good.
love that.
Yes.
I love my knight in ripped jeans and tattered plaid.
Yes, I like
that's
that
my
too.
favorite line of that.
Yeah.
Nestled in his head, that black feathered crook cawing a laugh. I love just the cadence of that sentence.
Yep.
Mhm.
I love how she
Awesome.
called him a crook instead of a crow, because it's so similar to the name of the bird, but
Mhm.
they are crooks.
Yeah, don't they call them rooks sometimes? That kind of bird.
Mhm.
That's neat.
Mhm. Yeah.
Really cool.
Awesome.
Really cool
Yeah,
piece.
I enjoyed that. I thought there was a nice twist at the end.
Okay,
Yeah.
Bad as it was.
my turn is next, and I get to read from our friend Maria Johnson. The inky sky glitters with endless diamonds, but this wondrous night cannot last. I should take you back. No, his voice cracks. Stay, he asks, firmer. All right. She cannot argue. She snuggles into the usual spot under his chin. His arm weaves around her. I love you, she whispers, voice almost lost in the breeze. I love you. You have my heart always. Her eyes brim at his pained promise. She wakes to the dreary morning, their blanket heavy with dew. Love? Silence. His heart no longer beats. As her heart breaks, she knows his still belongs to her, always.
Wow.
Oh, that's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
I
chose
had
her
to
for
read it
purpose.
twice because I was like, what have you done to me? I thought that I was reading this romantic encounter. And then I was like, no, it's sadness time.
But it is romantic.
Oh, yes.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it is, I mean, like the ultimate romantic.
Yes.
Like that till the end of time. Well, his time ended, but
Oh,
so
for
good,
sure.
Maria.
Me being gutted is not a negative
Oh.
criticism. That is definitely great.
Mhm.
And I like
Is
the way
it-
she framed it with nature. Like in the beginning, the inky sky was glittering with diamonds
Mhm.
because of the wonderful night. And then she woke to a dreary morning with the blanket heavy with dew. It really sets the mood
Mhm.
for what's happening in the story.
Mhm.
Yeah, and her foreshadowing in but this wondrous night cannot last.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm.
Bunch of
Isn't it
chat going on.
amazing?
I don't want to miss, but like Agugwa says, well done, Brian. That was lovely. Robin says, great imagery, Shell. Gigi says, very descriptive. We're just getting a lot of good. You guys are so supportive of each other. We love that. So,
Mhm.
okay. So who's next?
That would be me.
All right.
And I get to read Miss Barb's.
All right.
The mail truck was coated with red dust. Harold didn't bother cleaning it since the sweltering July heat, dust, sweat, and big green blowflies were his constant companions. He stopped at the house and slowly opened the mailbox. He was lucky, no wasps. He saw the old woman sitting under the tree in the front yard. Mornin', Miss Stewart. His unhurried speech reflected Harold's outlook on life. Hot one, ain't it? Sure enough. He stuffed the mail in the box. Well, be seeing you, Miss Stewart. He let the clutch out and without spitting a single rock disappeared around the bend.
I love the mail truck was coated with red dust because immediately we know
Yeah.
where you are. You know what I mean? You
Such a
can
good
imagine it.
clue of setting with just one
Mhm.
sentence.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And I like he didn't throw up a single rock too, because that means that says something
Experience.
about the narrator's obviously making some sort of a judgment there,
Yeah.
and it tells us about the narrator because she evaluates in that way. I love that. Barb is such a great writer. If Barb ever publishes anything, you all have to buy it. Like everything she's written, I've been like, please write a whole book of this. I'm telling you, she's so talented.
The whole thing just really reeks of this hot, slow, like molasses summer day.
Sure
Yeah.
does.
Where he's talking slow, he's driving slow.
Right.
All right. So we
Yeah.
have one more fan drabble to read before we get to our own drabble. So Jamie, how about you take it away?
All righty. The last one is Robin Sardi. Pattering of rain on the on the roof awakens me. Pale light draws the gray walls even closer. Outside, I can hear the songbirds welcoming the day, cheerful no matter the weather. The smell of coffee drifts up from the kitchen, the new programmable machine fulfilling its duty. I stretch, planning my day. Start some bread, then walk the trail while it's rising, but not yet. Summer is fading, and the morning lacks warmth. I roll over, reaching for my own personal furnace. But he's not there. There's no but. I just read it with inflection, sorry. The blanket is undisturbed, the pillow cold. Steel stabs at my chest. No at there either. Steel stabs my chest. My breath vanishes. I remember. See, I don't, I mean, the way she wrote this is really gutting. So I hated that my vocal, whatever, sounded like I was adding words, because this is written masterfully to put you in her emotion. Like, she does the nice short sentences, you know what I mean? And so, like, you don't want to add, this economy of words is very, very excellently used here, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Gutted me. Good job, Robin.
I really wonder if this challenge of writing a Drabble caused that for her, right? Like, it actually enhanced the theme of her piece because she had to be economized with the words. Just wondering. Right. It's an excellently done piece.
All right. Before any more discussion, it is time for us to share our own Drabbles. Some of us shared our Drabbles earlier than others. So, Rhonda, I'm going to go ahead with you because Rhonda tweeted hers out earlier this week, and then I got to read it. She didn't want me to see it until today, but we're going to listen to it again. And spoiler alert, fan fiction, which I was very excited about.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
She peered shyly through the wispy curtain of hair, then finally brushed it away from her face as requested. But her trembling fingers hovered over her eyes. No comment, sir? Her fingers dropped lower, hiding her lips. No, miss. I hoped it would tease you more if I didn't mention it. A smile broke across his lips like the first rays of the morning sun. He swung his legs off the desk and onto the newsroom floor. Giving his wool hat brim a flick and Anna a wink, Warren sauntered out, leaving only the sound of his deep chuckle.
Yay! Fanfic for Searching for Anna, in case you haven't read that, I didn't know.
Available now on Amazon.
Warren is Rhonda's favorite of my male characters so far, and so that was awesome. Thank you for doing that,
And
Rhonda.
isn't that where your cameo appears in the book? Is in that office?
Yes.
Yeah, so fun.
The one where I'm not a prostitute. I'm a secretary.
The second book, she's a prostitute.
I don't know if I should be relieved or offended that I'm not neither a prostitute nor a...
It just was the timing. Like, when I wrote those books, Rhonda was just nearby when I wrote those scenes. And
I'm not complaining. Trust me.
Next time I write a prostitute, Tina, I'll put you in as the character name.
My husband will be thrilled.
All right. Speaking of being thrilled, Tina, how about you share your Drabble with us next?
Okay. In the early morning mists, before the sun peeks over the mountains, a hooded man with a gnarled staff stands among the trees. He waits, patient, listening for danger. The eerie craw of a raven echoes through the wood. Then he's moving, surely but silently, melting into the shadows, unseen by any unaware he's there. Not that there is anybody else out here but he and I, in this wood, at this hour, among the mists and the last straggling ghosts of night. The unquenched lust for vengeance calls to me. I notch my arrow, hold my breath, and loose.
Ooh.
Good.
Wow.
I love the whole fantasy feeling that little bit gives there, and that he's vengeance thing. Like, I totally know what's happening, and but we don't know if he the arrow finds its mark or not. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. And Tina, you always do so well with you have a very poetic, descriptive voice. I don't really know how to really explain it, but it's very it very much sets the mood of your piece, I think. And I could tell exactly how I was supposed to feel just from the get-go. I think it was the hood and the dark. I don't know. You just set the scene right away. I loved it.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go next so that it's not so much talky of Jenny. Okay. She ran her fingers lightly across the bandage at the base of her neck. When did she die? Early this morning, he said. I was hoping to be released sooner, to say goodbye. Tell her I love her one last time. He held her hand. Your grandmother knew. Why, Lord? She prayed. Why now? I've been through so much already. Can't I get a break? Trust me, the still small voice inside whispered. The doctor entered the room. He wasn't smiling. The lab reports came back positive for cancer. With that one sentence, her world came crashing to a halt.
Ooh. Well, you guys are making me feel a lot today. So there's a whole lot going on in that story. What'd you say?
Isn't it amazing what 100 words can do?
It really is.
I'm really glad that we took this challenge and that we didn't assign a prompt, even though I really usually rely on a prompt to inspire me. Jen, was this like sort of nonfiction for you? Were you sorting through some of your loss that you experienced recently?
Yeah, it was 100% nonfiction. When I went into the hospital in 2016 for an outpatient surgery that ended up lasting for 5 days. And in that 5 days, we discovered that it was cancer.
Wow.
And in that time, my grandmother passed away, and I didn't
know.
The day that they were going to release me, she died that morning. I just barely missed seeing her. And so yeah, just pile on, you know what I mean, in that moment. And I'd never written about it, or I don't talk about, I mean, everyone knows that I've had cancer and that I've survived cancer, but like I don't know that I really talk about like how much was piled on all at one time in that moment. So that little 100 words kind of let me get that out a little bit that I didn't know that I needed to get out. Weird.
Yeah, it was very good and very touching.
Thank you. I didn't mean to bring the whole feeling of the down.
No, I'm just really glad that your instincts told you to have me last. Wait till you hear this.
Awesome.
Oh, great.
All right.
Wait, do I need Kleenex?
No. Well, it depends on if you. Okay.
Here
we go. I spent the first part of 2020 teaching myself how to wag my ponytail. It took me until mid-March just to get my mind around which muscles I'd need to focus on to accomplish the feat, and it was not until yesterday that I finally managed to respond to the irritation of a fly on my nose with a hearty swish. My brother says I'm wasting my time, but we'll see what he says when I'm able to toast, butter, and consume 2 slices of bread while simultaneously holding a novel in one hand and turning its pages with the other.
What?
I love that.
I'm so glad I didn't go right in between some of these sad and dreary things. I was like, oh my gosh, please don't call on me. Please don't call on me. Because it's like totally ridiculous in the middle of all of this weepy stuff. And anyway, so I had fun with that.
That is fun. I love that one.
I think it's hilarious because I used to try to whip flies with my ponytail.
Did you
when
really?
I was a kid. Yeah.
Sophia goes pew, pew, pew with her ponytails. Like she can shoot lasers out of them. And so it's funny because I picture them waving through the air, shooting lasers. So I don't know why I came. I told you I wrote it in the middle of the night and I thought it was stupid. And I went back and read. I'm like, yeah, this is really dumb. But then I'm like, oh, well. And so I guess we needed some comic relief. So
I love it.
Well,
I don't think it's dumb at all. Tina.
I think it's brilliant. Just like, raccoons becoming aliens or, you think it's just a raccoon.
Yeah.
And it's like the captain of this alien ship who's on a mission. So
I appreciate that.
It's guys. Right. It's very Jamie.
I appreciate that.
I don't think there could be a higher compliment. It's very Jamie.
Thanks.
Right.
That's going to be that's going to be the new trend. All the young people are going to be walking around. Oh, that's Jamie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say pewing out of their ponytails. Pew, 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 pew.
All right. We have about a minute left, but we don't want to forget and leave without doing our what's next. So I'm going to start with you, Jamie. Let's go backwards. Jamie, what's
next? I am preparing big announcements for my writing career. So if you want more of the ridiculous mind of Jamie Hirschberger, tune in to the podcast and also to our newsletter chat because I'm going through it live and in person with Jennifer on newsletter chat. I am finally going to launch a novel, but big picture, I still have to do scheduling and all that kind of stuff. So big changes happening in the J.R. Nichols world that I'm very excited about. That's what's next. What's next with y'all? Jen, how about you? What's next with you?
Newsletter chat. I'm glad you gave that shout out because last week's newsletter chat was 100% like everything is organic and raw. And we thought we were going to go a direction with Jamie's newsletter. And by the time we got to the end, we're like, we're not doing that. So, so I love it though. I love that we're not like trying to put on this like farce of being like, we're the experts in this. We're not. But if you want to come along for the journey, you want help with your own newsletter, that's what we're there for.
Yeah, if you don't know what to put in your newsletter, come and chat with us. That's why we're there, because we have to do ours, right? So that's our time to do ours. And if you want in on that, join in.
Right. So my what's next is this next week, I am going to crack open Sarah's book. I've been putting it off because I've spent so much time editing Phoebe's book and I've not, once that comes back from the editor, I'm going to have to like polish it up and get that ready to go. But I had opened up Sarah's book and it was not as good as, like, it was not as polished as I thought it was going to be. So it's going to be a lot more work, but I'm going to do it. So this next week, I am focusing on Sarah.
Wow. You can do it, Jen.
I know. All right. How about you, Tina?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that Barb B says swishing the ponytail is all in the hips. That's information that people need to know.
We need a visual on that, Barb. If you could take a selfie video,
record a video
and put it up where we could share it on Twitter and everywhere else. We'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Definitely. Also, I am going to go right after the podcast and pick a winner for our Write It Better contest.
Ooh, get over there and craft something.
If you haven't had a chance to vote, or maybe it's too late to actually enter because you won't get any votes, but head on over there and vote if you can on our page. But what's next for me is I'm going to be done with this editing process really quick.
So exciting.
And I'm going to have to start looking into my book launch
strategy
schedule and all that kind of stuff. So
wow, Tina.
I'm like suddenly going, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna have to go back and watch the episodes where you were helping Jamie, or maybe we're gonna have more episodes about book launching. I don't even know. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So
well, we're here to help and support you, Tina. We'll figure that out together.
Kind of like a deer in the headlights right now, but
exciting, so exciting.
Shell says her what's next has got to finish her outline for a short story and painting her she shed this weekend so I can move my industrial sewing machine home next week.
She's gonna have to tell us what these sewing machines are for. She's been talking about these for a while.
Her mom's business that they are shutting down.
Well, what are they making?
Yeah, that's true.
Sales? Are they upholsters?
Piper says her what's next cabinets and flooring this weekend. Hopefully still married on Monday. Riding this afternoon, listening to Story Genius. Good. Robin says her what's up. Keep reading another 30 cat stories, but best friend is coming for a few days. Yay. So mental health break for the two of us. That's always important.
Nice.
Too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just have to say that the only thing that stresses a marriage more than remodeling a house is parking a camper. So good for you, Piper.
All right, Rhonda, what's next?
My what's next is as soon as we're done here today, I'm headed to Indiana for a couple days. I'm going to a family reunion of not my family, a friend of mine. And then it's right next door to the largest genealogy depository this side of the Mississippi. So I'll be spending all of Sunday there. And I'm so excited because they're back open to the public now. And I wanted to go there for several years. So very good weekend in store for me.
Wow. You are just going to have a killer 5 weeks.
All right,
5 weeks?
Didn't you say you have a friend coming to visit for 5 weeks or something?
Oh, yeah.
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 Shell answered your question.
For 14 days, though.
Sorry. Shell says that we were making custom draperies and bedding for interior designers. She's been in business for 36 years and I've worked for her for 26.
Wow.
Robin also says, I'm so confused on what we're voting on and where to go to vote. Okay, so what it is, Robin, is on our Facebook page every week, Tina has been posting a Write It Better. It is a graphic with something that's poorly written, and then everybody takes a shot at writing it better. And whoever gets the most hearts is the one that wins bragging rights. That's what it is. You just got to go to our Facebook
doing
page.
it, though.
I haven't done it. I will next week. I promise. So, all right. we only have one more thing to do before we call it quits today, and that is to announce our winner. So we ran the contest, and there was lots of different ways to win, and then we used Rafflecopter so that they could randomly select our winner. And this year's winner of our merch supreme, of our swag, what did you call it, Jamie?
Swag pack.
Our swag pack is...
Drum roll.
Brian Carruthers. Brian is a newer fan of the podcast, and he has been very active, especially over on Facebook with us. And we really appreciate you, Brian. And we are congratulating you for winning this contest, which you will receive a one-of-a-kind coffee mug that is not available yet as merchandise with the Christian Indie Writers podcast logo on it. You will also receive a set of coasters handmade by none other than Christina Catane with our logo on them. Also receive a signed copy of Plot Your Novel with this workbook written by Dee Bauman, also known as Rhonda Hagerman and her mom Barb. There it is. I don't have my book here. You also get a signed copy of Avoiding Esther.
Sorry, I
don't have it. I didn't even think about it. I'm silly. And then also you get a signed copy of J.R. Nichols. Which one is it, Jamie? Oh, Second Chance. Yay! So we have that going out to you, Brian. Brian says thank you. Oh, he says wow, and then thank you. Hey, Brian, we appreciate you. Private message us where you would like that mailed, and we will get that out into the mail to you this week.
We love all of our people who submitted and helped to spread the word about the podcast because, like I said, I did not realize how important the chatters were going to become to me, and we really wish that we could send all of you a swag pack. We really do appreciate and thank you for joining us every Friday and making this really a lot of fun to do. You guys are just so awesome.
Yes.
Agreed.
And you fill up a lot of our knowledge gaps, to be honest. Sometimes we're plotting these podcasts and we're like, well, someone in the chat will know something for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like counting on your partner to take a trick if you ever played euchre. So we count on you guys to take the tricks for us. So if you can keep encouraging and supporting each other in the chat, you're doing us a solid.
Agreed. All right. We thank you guys so much for joining us today. And this concludes the Christian Indie Writers podcast. So until next week, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye now.
Bye.